in case. So, Rule, Ben, it's on you. But Rule, it's on you. Then we're going to bed. That's just the order, though.
Yo, no, I was sitting here. I was sitting here working a little bit, and
Oh shit! That
I
already
heard
sounds
I
like
heard
you
a
about to
few.
be a devil's advocate, bro. I already hear it. You was working.
Nah,
I mean, you had too
nah,
much time on your hands.
nah, I heard a few. I heard a few things. I said, well, before I mess up this response, I may as well just go and pause for a second and respond to a few things that I heard. Number one, I have a question for you. When was that Knicks Heat series? Was that last year?
Um, what do you mean? Because now you got me
I mean,
stuck. When you
because
said the year for
it seems like it seems like a distant memory because coming off a Knicks Heat series that must have been last year. I'm hearing people saying, we need to settle for having a bunch of 6'4", 6'5" players who's going to defend these tall wings, and that we really don't need a power forward in this day and age. And I was like, I was watching. I thought I watched that Knicks Heat series.
talk to him, talk
I
to him.
thought I watched it, but
Da 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 da
maybe I missed
da.
it. And then I saw that same Heat team eventually go into the finals against Denver and just get washed with length. And I'm hearing people talking about, we don't need height. We don't need height. We can put Josh Hart at the four, and we can survive. You know, so that tells me there's a segment of this fan base that's pretty much satisfied with getting a few wins in the regular season and not having things in the regular season that can convey to the postseason. Because a lot of those things that worked in the regular season has shown themselves to not work in the postseason. And as a person who's a part of a fan base, you want to see your team do well, but you also want to see your team improve from one season to the next. And I'm not seeing that. And as a baseball fan, I can remember growing up in the '80s, and the Mets were terrible for a long time. Then by '84, they got a few good players, and they improved from '84 to '85, '85 to '86. Of course, they won the World Series, and they played pretty well for the rest of the '80s. Well, I can remember the '95 Yankees. They had a great season, but they improved and they wound up dominating the rest of the '90s. That's the type of thing you want to see your team do. You want to see your team build. You don't want to say, you know what, this player was good this year. It worked this year, so it'll work next year. Because you want to take a wider view of the NBA and not just see your team. So when you're just looking at your team, you see you don't see the rest of the league improving. You stay with the same things. If Julius improves on this, then we'll be better. If Josh Hart could play the four, then we don't need a tall player. We don't need a tall player to compete against everyone else in this league. Now, with Zion, I want to say that a lot of people want to disagree, but I think a lot of the talk on Zion's diet is cap. I really do. Because for a lot of times, Zion's being held out wasn't strictly a Zion decision. It's a team decision. And it wasn't always based on his health or whether he was well enough to play at that point in time. They had their own reasons why, organizational reasons why they held him out as well. If he was good enough to play, then maybe he should have played. Now, I can't recall a time watching Zion on the court being out of shape. A lot of the things I've seen is Zion when he's out for an extended period of time because of injury, and we haven't seen him in a while. And if he hasn't played a couple of months, yeah, he's a big boy. Anyone who's out, anyone who's out for a sustained period of time isn't going to be in basketball shape. Does not mean that he's not going to be able to come back. Also, we build these narratives in regards to Zion's history. How many of those injuries had to do with him being in shape or out of shape? we've made this correlation between diet and his injuries, his injury history. He didn't have a broken thumb because he was out of shape. He had a broken thumb. But anytime I seen that kid on the court, the kid's been in shape. And recap, man, I know you love your man Embiid, but Embiid is a guy who missed the first 164 games that he could have played in his career. Missed the first 2 years, came back the third year, played 30 games. People wanted to push him for Rookie of the Year for whatever reason. And he's a guy who's fallen short in the playoffs. He's fallen short in the playoffs consistently. Don't care what anybody say. Y'all can thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever. You know, he's had the opportunity to hide behind Ben Simmons' shortcomings, other shortcomings. But what I saw this year was a guy who received his MVP trophy, and the moment he received that, he said, "Off the cabo, I'm done. I'm good now. I'm good."
Wait,
So who we going this year? We're gonna blame Maxey,
hey, Rule,
or
can I
we're
ask
gonna
you a
trade.
question?
Sure.
All right. In regards to everything that you're saying, right?
That
Mm-hmm.
Zion one, I'm gonna rip that shit apart in a couple of
Wait,
minutes.
hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold
I'm
on,
gonna
hold on,
rip
hold on. I
that
got
shit
you. I
apart
got you. I
because
got
that
you. I got
diet,
you.
that
Wait,
diet
wait,
shit,
Ain't
bro.
no bias. I mean,
Wait,
that was real
whoa.
biased because I got an injury history here. That-
164 out of 164 is not bias.
I'm not
It's
talking
fact.
about. I'm not talking about the games, the rule. I'm talking about the injuries. It had
wait,
everything to do with his
wait,
diet.
wait.
His
Just
knee injury,
wait.
his
How do
hamstring
you know his
injury,
knee injury had to
his
do with his
leg.
diet?
Damn, I can't even hit the mute button because you a co-host. Damn. Wait. Like,
How do
I
you
was
know?
like,
How do
damn.
you know his knee?
Wait.
So only big dudes have knee injuries.
So you
Is
mean to
that what
tell
you're
me they
saying?
paid it? So you mean to tell me right now, Trippy, get out the way. You mean to tell me right now?
Mm-hmm.
You mean to tell me, with them being the one seed over Denver, the reason why they sat him out was due to team management problems when they were the one seed with him on the floor? You think that was a team management decision, or is that Zion not really being in shape the way you think he is? Because he's not. He was never in shape. I'm a
Was he
Duke
in
fan.
shape? Was he?
He was never in
From what
shape.
I saw, was he in shape well
He
enough to
was
play?
never in shape. He's just he. The thing about Zion that people keep on throwing it to the left is that
Mhm.
Zion is like God given body, but he's never been in shape. He's just been bigger than everybody else. That doesn't necessarily mean that if you're not able to take care of your body with the hamstrings, with the knee injury, with the leg injury, with the blown up shoe, his foot injury in Duke. That doesn't
So the
necessarily
blown
mean
up shoe was because he was out of shape, or
no,
was it?
it
Or
no,
was it
no.
a matter
The
of his
reason the
explosion? But
no, the
but
reason
what you're
why
doing right now, but what you're
no,
doing right
I'm
now is you're
not.
proving what you're
I'm
doing
not.
right
I'm
now is
not.
you're proving my
I'm not.
point.
I'm giving you.
What you're
I'm giving
doing is
you.
taking a compilation of his injuries
Nope.
and putting it on diet.
Nope. Nope. No,
So
I'm not.
yes, you
No,
did,
I'm not.
because you would have no reason to mention the blown up shoe to Duke.
Nope. Because you're
You
not
would have no
listening.
reason to
No,
mention
no,
that.
because you're not listening. What you fail to understand is that has nothing to do with the
No, I'm
injuries.
not. Not only am
Bro,
I
hold
listening,
on. Wait, rule.
why
Hold
would you
on.
mention
Hold
the
on.
blown up shoe at Duke?
Hold
Is my
on.
question.
You gotta let me answer it, or else
Yo,
you
just
won't
so
be
y'all
able.
know, this is the best rebuttal ever because I can actually hear y'all too. This
Yeah.
is fire. Keep it up.
It's a basketball conversation. The
Mhm.
reason why I bring up the explosiveness with his shoe is because that's God given talent. He's never taken care of his body. He's just been bigger, stronger, faster than everybody else. Right now, his problems have nothing to do with his diet. It has everything to do with him taking care of his body. That means more than just eating. That means training. That means everything that comes into it. Every time he's been on the floor since Duke, he's
Mhm.
always never taken care of his body. He's just God given talent. This is not the same thing as like LeBron slimming down, like losing 30 pounds before he went to Miami, gaining 20 pounds when he went back to Cleveland. This is not the same thing. The only thing that Zion got going for him is that he's God given. That's it. That's it. Other than that, all that shit is lies and full blown lies. Because the knee injury that has everything to do with your health. That leg injury has everything to do with your health. Your hamstring, maybe because you have too much weight, you got to slim down. But the reason why you can't come back is because hamstrings have a nagging effect, and if you keep on adding weight, is going to keep on giving you that same problem. So no, I don't want Zion near this roster until he proves he could take care of his body. That's the point. It's not about the diet. It's about taking care of your body, not what you eat. He hasn't been able to take care of his body since he's been in Duke. And that's a fact. As a Duke fan, he was still the same size. So he was just bigger than everybody else. So no, I'm not trading. I'm not putting all my poker chips and relying on a guy to figure it out. There's people not named LeBron James that take care of their body 365. Where's the proof that Zion takes care of his body 365? Where are the videos?
Was LeBron
All I see is
was
videos. All I see is videos of him dunking. Like I didn't know that he could do that when he was 18, 17, 16. Where is the videos of you taking care of your body? You jogging. Shit like that. I see Jalen Green with Fred VanVleet. Everybody's talking about that's an overpay, not knowing that when Fred VanVleet's contract comes off the books is when they got to pay Jalen Green, and Jalen Green's going to have that mindset to take care of his body and actually be productive on the floor at the same time. Where are these Zion Williamson videos? Why would I want to trade for that? But we're gonna
so
knock
you
Joel.
saying what?
But we're gonna. But we're gonna. But wait. But
Are
hold on.
you are you going to go on a
Hold on.
soliloquy, or am
Hold
I
on. Hold
going
on.
to get or am I
My
going to get
only
to
question to
respond, man?
you. My only question to you is the thing that you said about Joel. Why would I knock Joel Embiid for something that Zion Williamson could not ever do right now? He can't do that for me in my worst days. Joel Embiid plays through injuries. Joel Embiid takes care of his body. Why would I want to sign up for Zion if and knock Joel? That's my only rebuttal. I'm not knocking Joel to give Zion Williamson flowers. I'm not doing that. Like I'm not doing that. That's all I gotta
So
say. There's no
Are
proof.
you saying that Joel Embiid came into the league taking care of his body?
No, but I can tell you
Okay,
right
so
now. I can tell you right now
right,
he's taking care of his
but
body more than Zion
we're
Williamson.
not gonna hold Zion to a standard that no young player comes. Even the greatest players, you hear Kobe talking about eventually learning how to take care of his body. So the idea of holding Zion to the standard in his first few years that he should have came into the league understanding how to take care of his body, when no young player comes in,
But
that's something that you learn.
You're Euro stepping the fact that he's not
I'm
taking
not
care of
Euro
his body.
stepping the fact. I'm
What
trying. I'm addressing
what
exactly
you're
what you
saying
said
about
head on.
Joel, what you're saying about
No
Joel
player.
is what you're saying about Joel is true. He wasn't taking care of his body and he was breaking down due to
Right.
injuries.
No,
But
when I'm
Joel
not, I
Embiid,
use Joel as an example. My point is, no young player comes into the league understanding how to take care of their body
right?
at a professional
When
level.
they learn what they have to do, they do take care of their body. He hasn't
Right.
learned yet. That's my point. Like he hasn't.
That does
He's
not
not
mean that
trying.
does not mean he's not learning.
He's not trying
Is
to.
the point?
He's not trying to. If
That does not
my,
mean he's not learning.
there is no video on the planet right now with Zion Williamson in conditioning. It's just Zion Williamson and dunking. I see videos of the Joel Embiids, of the LeBron James, taking care of their body, doing more than just dunking. Where is the video for Zion Williamson?
So because there's no video, that means he's not doing it.
All I see is excuses. He's going on Gilbert Arenas talking about diet, and you're saying that I'm using that as an excuse, but it's
No,
coming out of
what
his
I heard
mouth.
on that video
It's
was
coming out
that
of
he
his mouth.
said that he was surrounding himself with old heads who was showing him a different way, is what I heard.
And
But
he's
that's
not even,
typical of
and he said,
any young player. What it seems like to me is a lot of you guys trying to write Zion's epitaph 2, 3 years, 4 years into the league.
no. What I'm
And
trying to say,
like I said, when you mention the compilation of injuries, it's not necessarily because he's out of shape.
so the
Now, does he
hamstring,
have to learn?
so
My point is, every player who's coming to the league has had to learn that there's a difference between being in shape and
I
being in NBA
I
shape.
understand that, but I'm trying to tell you that there's a difference between learning and a difference between actually figuring it out. He's not at that point where I can trust him to figure it out. That's my point. We're talking what you're talking about is a fact. Every college kid coming into has to figure out how to take care of their body, how to figure out how to stay in the NBA. That's a fact. What I'm trying to tell you is that he's not even trying to he doesn't give me the belief that I should trust him to learn that. Because right now, coming out of his own voice is a whole bunch of excuses. And in order for me to trade for the guy, I got to give up more than 3 picks, at least 3 picks to go get him. And then I got to do that whole exercise with him in New York, where there's food on every single corner street. where literally he could get just turned around on the next side block next to Madison Square Garden. Why would I want to do that? Because he's generational? No. Because in order for you to be generational, you need to be able to play. This ain't Steph Curry with the ankles. It's not. There's none of that. It's not KD being skinny. It's none of that. This is a health balance problem, not diet problem. This is health balance. It's similar to Andrew Bynum. It's similar to Jamarcus Russell. It's that type of caliber. We're not talking about can he stay healthy or not. We're talking about does he want to stay healthy or not. That's the conversation. And we keep on Euro stepping that because he's a generational talent and we so thirsty for generational talent. Like, nah, bro. I'm not trading half my franchise for that until he shows signs of life.
No,
So
well,
whether that's
no,
and I don't
I'm
care and
sorry. I'm not
I
going
don't
to put
mind.
it just on. I'm not going to just put it on Zion.
It is on Zion. It is on Zion.
I also understand the history of that organization and their medical staff and their training staff as well. So if that is an issue, and I still have a question or not as to whether or not that's the issue, I have a question or not as to whether or not he's out of shape,
I'm not excusing
or if
Zion.
it's, or
I'm
however
not
you want to put
excusing
it, whether
Zion.
he's out of shape, whether he's making health choices, or whether that's his body.
I'm not excusing Zion and blaming the organization all the way. Because when we do
I
that
didn't
over
say
here,
all the way.
when we
I
do
didn't say
that
all the
over
way. You're blaming Zion all the way.
when we do that for the Dennis Smith Juniors and the Kevin Knoxes and the Obi Toppins, it works over here. I'm not giving him 100% pass. It's 50-50. David
Okay,
Griffin and him. And at the end of the day, it comes down to whether or not Zion wants to actually commit or not. That's it.
okay.
That's it.
I accept that as a concession because until right now, I didn't hear anything about 50-50. I
Right
didn't.
now, right now he's the one. Right
All
now
I
he's
heard
the
was
one doing the
Zion.
world
I didn't hear
tour.
anything about 50-50.
Right now, he's the one doing the world tour. David Griffin has been protecting this kid, literally trying to make up excuses for the kid, while the kid is literally spitting in his face every time. And now he's going on podcasts talking about his health like it's not his problem. So whose problem is it? If David Griffin's protecting you for the last 2 years and paid you 100 million, but we're blaming the front office for it.
Well,
Meanwhile, he's doing
I didn't
everything.
hear anywhere where he didn't say his health wasn't his problem.
He's not owning it. It's his, like that's the problem. He's skipping over it like it's everybody else's. You talk about the old heads, right? That he just
Hmm.
said. He's talking about everybody else but himself. Why can't you just say to yourself, I need to figure it out? Like every other kid. Like that's all it comes down to. We make up every single excuse for everybody, not ourselves.
If I say I'm surrounding myself with old heads and I'm taking in new information, that is taking in accountability.
All right, well,
Now
so then I'll wait.
we may
So
want
then
to
I'll
deal
wait.
with semantics, but if I say that I'm dealing with old heads now who are explaining things to me,
Hmm.
then that is taking accountability, and that's also
Well, then
acknowledging
all I can say to that
that's acknowledging the situation.
then all I could say to that is prove it to me. I'm not trading for you. I'd rather trade more to go get him, knowing that he's fully healthy, than trade less, knowing that he might not ever be that guy. Prove it to me. Prove it to me.
Okay,
I'm not trading for him right now just because he's Zion Williamson. I watched Zion since he was 16. He came to Duke. I watched Duke. I'm a Duke fan. That's cool. Prove it to me. Because right
okay,
now you Andrew Bynum.
okay. Okay, but
That's
when
all.
I've seen Zion for a
On
minute
the
too.
floor, I'm talking about on the floor.
I saw a
I'm
guy that put on like 75 pounds from his junior year to senior year in high school.
that's good.
So
Prove it.
that's
Prove
natural growth.
that's good. That's
And
good.
understand that he's still what 22, 23.
That's good.
The body is still growing.
That's
So,
good. That's good. Prove it to me.
to get back
Prove it to me. Because
to my other
right
point,
now, all that is just opinion. Prove it to
right,
me. Stay on the
right,
floor. Prove it to me. Like we
right.
talk about narratives.
And I
Go
say the
ahead.
same thing about Joel Embiid, except for the fact that Joel Embiid is 30 years old, and there's not much that he can
Right.
prove.
Rule.
The die is set.
Right now,
The
you
die
bringing
is
up
set in
Joel.
regards to Embiid.
Rule. Right
Embiid
now,
is a
you
guy
bringing
that's
up.
going to give you about 60 games a year. He's a guy that eventually he's going to come up short in the playoffs.
Uh huh. And
You
right
know
now,
what I
you're
mean?
talking about what Zion Williamson might be. So that's all I can say to you. Because right now, Zion Williamson's career trajectory is
Hmm.
Joel Embiid's. So It's the same thing. So you talking about Joel Embiid, don't
His
bother
career
me
trajectory.
because
I'm sorry. Can
Zion
you
right
repeat that
now,
again? His career trajectory is what now?
right now on the floor, the way
Uh huh.
that you just criticized Joel is the same way
Right.
I feel about Zion. So until he plays 82 games, they're basically the same thing, bro. Like I don't really care about Joel Embiid. What I'm trying to say is that they're the same thing that I'm trading for. Health
No,
issues.
no, they're
Health
not the same. They're not
issues.
the same
They
thing I'm
are the
trading
same
for
thing. They
because
are the same thing.
when I mentioned Joel Embiid, I did not just mention his injury history. I mentioned his performance in playoffs.
Zion hasn't even played in the playoffs yet. Well,
Okay,
can
but
we wait
Joel
till
Embiid has.
can we wait
So that
can we
means in that
wait
aspect,
can
I
we
have more data on Joel Embiid than I have on Zion.
and I
So
have
why
no
would I
I
want
have
to
no
trade
that
for a
and I
guy
have no
that
I
I
have
have
no
that data on, who from what I've seen is going to come up short mentally not physically, mentally in the playoffs.
and you're baking that and I agree with you. But what I'm trying to say again to my point of not trading for Zion, the injuries, and now you're proving another layer. I don't know if he's even gonna be there come playoff time. At least JoJo was there and issues. When you talking about narratives,
No,
Zion
JoJo
hasn't
wasn't there.
played yet.
JoJo
So
was
now
present.
we're gonna
There's a
act like
difference
Zion
between
wears his
being there
LeBron
and
James
being
in the
present.
playoffs. We
JoJo
don't
was
know yet.
present.
We don't know
Right.
yet.
Right. But we know about JoJo. We know JoJo is
I don't know
present.
about
But we know
Zion.
JoJo's not we know
I'm
that
talking
JoJo's
about
not gonna beat it. You
Zion.
know,
I don't know
if there's
nothing.
a game 7, I should not have to count on Tobias Harris being my leading scorer in the game 7 with 17 points.
That's
And
fine. I don't
JoJo's
care.
showing up with 15.
That's fine. I don't care about Joel Embiid. I'm talking about
Right.
Zion.
Okay.
I don't
I
know anything
understand
about
that.
Zion.
So what my point is, let's not talk about trading for one and trading for the other.
Incorrect.
My
Because
understanding, my
incorrect.
point is that
Because
Joel
what I
Embiid has
said
a lot more written
incorrect.
in the
Because
scouting report
what I
than
said
Zion does at this time.
incorrect. Because what I said was I'd much rather trade for one than the other, not trade for him and not the other guy. I said right now, in both of their careers, I much rather trade for Joel than Zion. That doesn't mean that I'm opposed to trading for Zion. He has to prove it, bro. Like I'm not trading a house for a guy that hasn't played in the playoffs, can't stay healthy, but you're killing the MVP for doing the same things. So like
Well,
I'm not trading for a lesser version of that. So let's
well,
wait.
the MVP is an
Let's
accolade. The MVP
okay,
is an
okay.
accolade. I'm
All right,
talking
that's
about the
fine.
player and I'm talking about his performance.
Okay, that's fine.
That is a nice accolade. But
Okay.
as I said, once that MVP was presented to him, he was like, "Oh, I'm good for the year.
Once
We go
Zion got
where we
100
go.
million, he was like,
We go
"Oh,
where
I'm
we go
good
where
for a
we
year."
go.
Once Zion got
We go.
100 million, he was like, "Oh, I'm good for the year." Like
You know,
it's the same conversation. It's an accolade.
it's just like in
It's an accolade.
2021. If it wasn't for Ben Simmons having a mental breakdown, then we're paying more attention to Joel Embiid's shortcomings.
I'm
You
not
know,
talking about
or just
Joel.
like in 2019,
I'm
if
not
it wasn't
talking,
for
but I'm
Jimmy
not talking.
Butler coming in and doing what he did, then we're paying attention to Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid getting
But
outplayed.
I'm not defending Joel Embiid. I'm talking about Zion. Zion by himself. He
I
hasn't
understand
been
what you're talking
healthy.
about. I'm talking about both of them.
I don't care about
I'm
Joel.
talking
I'm talking
about them
about
both.
Zion. I'm talking about
Yeah,
Zion.
but I'm talking about them both.
All right, that's fine.
We can do that.
I
I'm
still
talking about
need
them both.
I
I'm
still
talking
need
about
to
what Zion needs to do to
Okay.
improve. I'm talking about what Joel Embiid has done, has shown himself to be.
Okay, that's fine. Zion hasn't proved nothing to me. Why would I
That's
trade for him?
fine.
All right,
Zion
so
has a lot more time to prove than Joel
look,
Embiid.
look, look,
So
look.
what
So
it is.
prove it. So
Let's wrap.
so then that's my point. Prove it.
Look,
We're gonna end with
the
that.
time is
We're gonna end
there.
it with prove it. We're gonna end it
Prove
with
it. You
prove it.
gotta prove it.
Just know, make
Mm-hmm.
sure y'all not following and you're not subscribed to the VSN basketball station. Please be subscribed because this whole debate, I promise you, I'm clipping this debate and it's going on YouTube. The shit will be out tomorrow. Make sure y'all subscribe.
It's a
So
healthy
this
conversation.
debate
Yeah, it's
is
just a
going
conversation.
through. This is a fire. This is what you call basketball debate one on one. You literally had two people. They didn't have to mute their mics back and forth like that. They didn't have to worry about saying hold up. I didn't have to mute. None of that. The panel didn't have to worry about stepping in. They debated. They talked over each other. Clear quality. This is going up on the channel. And as of right now, I'm going to watch this Zion take right now, verbatim, from the whole pod. I'm watching it from beginning to the end. So when I get a clip and view of it, I will tweet it. But look, we are being pressed for time. I love that debate. We got new speakers up here. Ben,
He's
I'm
my
gonna let
guy,
you
by the way.
close the show out.
Yeah, it's still love. I just want to say it's love. It's just a healthy conversation. That's
Yeah,
all it was.
facts. I already know it's love between both of y'all. Trust me. I know that, and I'm glad that y'all stated that to each other and for everybody to hear that. It's good to have these healthy conversations. This is what Fan to Fan is about. Again, on my show, if you hear me talking more than my panel, something is fucking wrong. It's never meant for me to talk. I don't want to talk. I'm here for y'all. That's the whole point. I love this. Ben,